Hello everyone, make yourselves comfortable. This is a secret room in the house, which I have turned into my podcast space. The decoration might at the moment look a little bit suspicious. Just know that it's a new space. It is my work of art, and I'm very proud of it. I'm currently sitting on a unicorn squishmallow, and this is a pillow that my mother got me because it said Aries. Not like I'm one of those girls, but it is a cute pillow. I kind of want to paint the walls. It'd be cool to put up a bunch of artwork on the walls. As this podcast grows, that's something I will do. I got this really cool lamp as well. Fun fact, everything that I buy, I first find in my sister's room. So my sister bought this lamp and then I bought it. It doesn't look that good facing the camera, but currently it's behind the camera. And that's the decoration of my room. I have prepared a couple topics today, but first I'm just going to start with creativity. Art and being creative isn't something that you really go to school to learn. You really have to learn from the right people. My favorite person has always been Rick Rubin, and I'd always listen to his episodes and I would write little notes and I always come back to them. I've probably rewatched a couple of them multiple times. I honestly wish he has more. In one of Rick Rubin's episodes, he talks about this quote when someone asks him, "How do you feel you have the #1 album in the country?" And he said he remembers himself saying that he has never felt more unhappy. And then his next line, he goes on to talk about how we mistakenly think that some sort of outward success is going to change something in us. And then he also goes on to talk about how when he's writing a book, the first mistake you can do is writing it for someone other than yourself. What he recommends is making the first draft for yourself, getting all your thoughts and your art on paper, and only when you have finished the product, when you're giving it to the publishers and to friends to read, that is when you should start shaping your art for other people. And this quote really stuck with me because when I decided I wanted to become a techno DJ, which is the furthest thing in the world from what I was, a chess player, which I still am, I decided I wanted to go into the techno world to do the complete opposite. So I started by making mixes on YouTube for people to listen to, just how I would listen to mixes when I would play chess. Because I would play 1 minute hyperbullet chess and I would need something to help me get in the zone. And the only thing that could do it was minimal 150, 160 BPM. And so I started listening to more techno sets, just things that could play for hours and hours while I was focused. And then I started listening to them when I'd go to the gym, when I'd do my workouts, and it would slowly carry me throughout the day. By the way, learning how to DJ on the fly, doing it practically all documented on camera, and you can definitely see this in my earlier videos. I just knew that the best way to start was to just throw yourself into it, so I recorded it, I put it on the internet. A couple weeks later, my first dark techno mix, which is what I decided to call the brand for myself, which now a ton of people rip dark techno on YouTube. It's kind of funny that it's a niche now. It went viral and it hit 2-3 million views in the next couple months. This was a brand new channel that had no followers, no views. I started feeling the pressure, not right away, slowly over time, to try to recreate what went viral. So next time I made my mixes, part of me was thinking about what do I really like listening to? But of course, it was all going through a filter and a lens of what do other people want to hear from me? And then I would approach my DJ sets the same way, which is so funny because the other day I was working on an essay competition for Tomorrowland. If you don't know what Tomorrowland is, it is, in my opinion, the best festival in the world. Nothing in the US competes with it. I think partly because of the infrastructure and the experience for the audience and the stage design and the lineup. It is my greatest dream to play this festival. I know it's going to get a couple years. I've only been doing music for 2.5 years. I'm still not even close because every year I feel like I have to perfect another thing that I didn't even know is part of the craft. First it was DJing, then it was producing, and now actually trying to get in the festivals is a whole other thing. I was entering a competition. You submit a mixtape, which I have plenty of videos and mixes of me DJing, and a motivational video. I actually shared it on this channel if you guys want to watch. So when I was trying to find the best DJ mix that I wanted to submit into this competition, I went through all of my mixes. It's pretty funny because as this channel grew, I posted more and more mixes. All of them would get 1 to 2 million views and slowly climb. And I always fall under the false impression that, similar to this quote, once you're successful at something, you'll get better at it, and that there's a certain right way to do it. And when I was listening to the mixes, the one that really resonated with my soul the most, that I wanted to submit to Tomorrowland, that I thought would encompass me the best as an artist, was my very first set in Berlin. This to me was so surprising because thinking back to this set, I had so many doubts and always thought it was my worst set. I decided to start the DJ set with my very favorite techno track of all time. It was called Fading Out by Frankie F.A. because it's a slower BPM, the vocal is really really emotional. It makes you feel something. It's kind of sad, it's kind of dark, but the melody is so beautiful and so melancholic. I chose it just because it was my favorite track, not because I was really thinking, okay, what does someone who's drinking going out in Berlin want to listen to? And I built the set around that. And I always thought of this as being a mistake because I was like, oh, I've gotten better at playing clubs because now I have remixes and higher energy and things that people want to hear. But I think my first mistake is just putting these assumptions when I'm making a set about what people want to hear and forgetting the original motive to why I do something. I felt the same way going back to the very first DJ mix I posted. Although it got a lot of views, it is the DJ set I was most embarrassed about because I'm playing on this tiny deck. It's before I knew how to DJ on real CDJ, so I'm using like a hybrid technology which looks really small and silly. I'm so shy. I make eye contact with the camera, I think twice in the entire time. I didn't love how the video turned out. I actually ended up redoing that DJ set on my computer for 6 months. I edited it for 6 months until I posted it because I thought the transitions were so bad because I didn't understand music theory, music structure, and I was just mixing when I felt like it, and you don't really realize things clash until you listen through it. Going back to it, that track list is also always the best because it just happened to be all the music that I loved before I became a DJ, before I filtered of the definition of what you should do as being a DJ. And the reason I tell this story is because on a greater lens, I judge myself so much in the moment, and we're all really hard on ourselves. What I find really refreshing is that some of your first ideas are your best ideas. That can be when you're way less experienced in something. We tend to value what's good by how other people receive it. And that's what I would do with these sets. And I would think they're getting more views, so they're getting better. But I feel like I lost a part of why I started it. And I think this is really common with literally anyone who turns their passion into a job. I hear artists talking about this all the time. And also, it's kind of something that you do have to accept when you're turning your passion into a job, because some part of it you do have to grind and you're not going to love every minute of it. The solution isn't just only doing what you love and only doing it when you want it. But I think just being aware of this is really important. Another example that I found is I released my very first song. I really enjoyed making music videos. So for my second release ever with my vocals, I self-directed my own music video. I had no budget, so I filmed most of it inside my house. All the locations I picked were places that I used to go and hang out. I didn't want to rent any set, and I directed it to the best of my ability. So I had this filming team, and I wrote a storyline, which I didn't overthink it. It was very simple. It was the fact that sometimes you have to play a face, especially when you're someone on social media, entertain this image that you've built for yourself. And for me, it was always being like a really high energy, happy, silly, lighthearted person who maybe doesn't think too deeply, but that's never the reality. And when the cameras turn off, there's something else, right? That music is really your only outlet where you get to express these feelings, and music is the only part where you get to let go. That was the storyline I wrote for the music video. Because of this storyline, the video turned out coming a lot cornier than I wanted. And this is a very common mistake. I'm not a freaking producer. I don't realize that, oh, actually, when you're writing storylines, you want to think of things that aren't really cliche and aren't the most like obvious story. And I remember I posted my video and it didn't really get received how I wanted, mainly just because I felt like people kind of just thought it was like a music video to look hot. That was mainly just because I didn't really realize how in deep you have to go with storytelling. And I remember some channel reposted and the top comment was something like, "This is this generation's definition of art." Like nothing of substance, all on the surface level. And I really took it to heart. I think constructive criticism is always good. And then I always tried to think of deeper storylines and things to communicate that maybe aren't so one-sided and maybe aren't so black and white and isn't the most obvious plot of a music video. But also because of that comment, it made me attach so much negative view to this video that I was embarrassed of the art that I bled hours and days and saved up for months for and really poured my soul into it. And maybe it wasn't my deepest work, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that it wasn't something that I didn't direct and film most of it myself and redo it for months and try my best to write a storyline as someone who's not a writer or producer. But because of that one video, I forever attached a bad image to it and tried my best to get away from ever doing things like that. And I just stopped filming things myself because I was like, it's always gonna come out looking, I don't wanna say trashy or corny, but because I don't have like the high-end experience, I'll never be able to make something look really professional and people will never understand the story or the vision I'm trying to communicate. And when I was doing my Tomorrowland application, I came back to this video as well and I watched it over again. And while some of the scenes, sure, They're a little bit corny. They have lip syncing. They could have been better. I was still really, really proud of my work. The shots that I set up, the scene that I set up, dressing the set, which was all in my house. It still felt somewhat like me. I was expressing parts of myself, and there's so much thought into little things that people don't really think about, like when you're filming a shot. Not like this is the best setup, but you know, everything that you want to be captured on camera, and the mood, and the outfits that you would pick for the videos, and the different scenes, and the locations that you would go scout. Those are all things I did for myself. And sometimes you don't give yourself enough credit for that stuff just because of one comment that you might attach to it. I definitely think I've been able to grow more as a storyteller, and I'm still happy I get this feedback. But I just associate so much in the past failure to the first things that I did. I just don't think that's the right way to look at it. When you're making art, it's the best thing to reassess and look back. I'm a person who doesn't really take much time to ever look back. Time is moving so fast, I barely feel like I'm ever have a moment to breathe. Today was like the first day in the week that I didn't feel like I'm in a constant state of panic and I have a million things to do. And that's sometimes the best feelings, and that's really when you get to appreciate the work you make. Even if I don't really make it as an artist, that's okay. I just don't want success to change my initial motives and goals for doing something. I'm like a sponge. I suck in so much advice, and I genuinely like hearing everyone's opinion. And it's hard to do that while trying to learn, while also not changing and shaping your art to fit what other people think it should be. But that's also why I really like to write things down. Like currently I'm looking at my notes from many, many months ago, and there are so many things I wanted to do that I kept putting off. And when you actually do get that mark list, like hilariously, my first video idea in this notebook that I'm on in my Notion was the truth about being an influencer DJ. And I wrote that idea 100 million times down and postponed it. But you know what? Now I actually did it. I did this channel. I also think looking back sometimes is worth it to give yourself a pat on the back and be like, hey, I actually did something. And now that's a perfect segue into my next topic. One thing a lot of you guys have in common on this channel is the ADHD talk. I actually really enjoy reading your guys' comments because you do have a lot of questions. I talk very openly about the medication I'm on, which I've switched from Adderall to Vyvanse, and now I haven't really been taking it for a long time. This week, I think I took my ADHD meds one day of the week, same with last week. Ironically, the way this whole thing started was because a little bit ago, I wanted to do a vlog for you guys called Not Taking My ADHD Meds. I failed on day 3. And the truth of it was I just had so much work. I was preparing for a DJ set. I was extremely stressed. I couldn't get myself to sit at the computer and just grind, something I really cannot do for more than 30 minutes. Editing videos and working on DJ sets is one, because you just have to sit and you have to be focused. And I had to take it. And then the vlog kind of failed and I was kind of disappointed in myself. I was like, great, I got all this footage of me trying to document this journey and it didn't happen. And then ironically, the way it actually succeeded was the week I wasn't filming. And the reason I wanted to stop taking my ADHD meds is I hear so many different things from people. Some say that it stunts their creativity. I didn't really feel that. Some people say that it makes them more dull. That's something that Miz, I don't know if you guys watch Miskiff, he's a big ADHD streamer who streams a lot with, he says that a lot. And I didn't really experience that, but what I felt on the meds is, yes, I start my day super productive like a machine. I go, I eat my breakfast, I take my Adderall pill, and in 30 minutes, I'm sitting down and I'm going through everything. But there's just like a feeling where it's just like a constant stress for me that no matter what you get down will never be enough. I get it. I set myself a very unreasonable standard of work goals. And sometimes if you think about it the night before and you write down 3 things you actually want to accomplish and you actually get them done, you're like, hey, I worked for 6, 8, 10 hours and I got down and I'm actually proud of myself. But on my Adderall, I finish one thing and I don't feel satisfied and I do the other and I do the other. And no matter what, I just feel like there's such a giant list of impending things to do. And because of that, it gives me so much anxiety. And when truly my best ideas sometimes come in these small moments where you get to take a breath and you get to sit down and you get to take in the sunlight that I'm looking through the window. I have a really tiny window. I like to sometimes peek in on the neighbors and like to see what's happening. And that's honestly why I really like it up here, because I get to see a little bit of the sun. And sometimes there'll be days happening and going by, I'm like, oh my God, I haven't sat outside and looked at the sun in so long. And sometimes it's little moments like that where you really appreciate life and you appreciate the little things. So that's why I stopped taking my ADHD meds. I've still managed to get all of my work done. It really depends on the day. I really prioritize my sleep, which sometimes means going early to the party. Some of the things I really love to do would be late night raving. I really liked going to DJ shows, but I just don't really love being set back for days in a row anymore. When it's something I really love, love, it's worth it, but I'm just way more picky about how I choose my going out time. And I find that a lot of the company that can really fulfill me, you can do it at a more reasonable hour. You can plan daytime activities with your friends. You guys can go hikes. You can have earlier dinners. And ever since I've been kind of shaping my life around that, I have found so much more energy naturally. And maybe that is another reason I don't rely on my meds as much. Maybe I've also learned more about myself in the time, but I've been feeling so much better not being on them because I don't have that constant anxiety and stress. And I'm still taking them on days in the week when I really, really need it. But I've gotten past the assumption that I am more productive and a better thinker on it, because I don't think that's true. I think I'm more of a machine, but I don't actually think that my thoughts are necessarily clear. I'm just better at getting through things. So it really depends what you're prioritizing. Maybe you just have a mass amount of work. But if you're also a creative person, I have so many friends who have been on these meds and they just don't even take days off. What even is ADHD? I don't even know if I really have ADHD. People ask me a lot about my diagnosis, and there are just a lot of things about like time management. And again, honestly, maybe this stuff is just something that you read on Quora or on Reddit and you're like, that's me, but everyone relates to it. For me, it was a couple of things like time management. I know for a fact that I have a distorted conception of time. And not only that, I genuinely get times mixed up. I don't think this is ADHD. But I will memorize my calendar that I have something at 1 p.m. I will check it 100 times. And somehow I show up, it was at 12. I will always get times wrong for no reason. And I genuinely really struggle with managing time. I hate being that type of person who's always late to things, because then I feel really guilty. I feel really shitty. I feel like I've wasted their time and I've disrespected them. I'm not even doing it on purpose. But always compare myself to my sister. She can sit down and get in the flow and work for hours. I can never do that. She might just not be a normal person. But anyways, my mom's very erratic. I get a lot of things from her. And honestly, I think I put so much of this in a circle of being an ADHD person, but working out really intensely really calms the mind. For me, it's not really so much going hard in the gym, but truly physical exercise is the only place that can calm my mind. I've really tried meditating. When I do practice enough, I get better at it. But on a day-to-day, something that's actually achievable, the only time that I'm not thinking about the 100 things I need to do is when I'm getting really sweaty. Maybe it's a hot yoga workout. I really enjoy the heat because the heat forces you to focus on your breath. Weightlifting, not for me. That stage lasted a week. Actually, that is an ADHD thing, I think. Getting attached to things and then not being able to last and stick to them for very long. I get really obsessed with things and I think they're the best thing in the world for a week, and then the second week passes by and I do not want to think about them once. I think I'm trying to diagnose myself right now. I'm just oversharing because this channel has a lot of ADHD viewers. I'm generally curious what you guys experience. Is just this what a normal person feels like working out, or do I just think I'm special and I put myself in this ADHD box? Maybe it's a mix of both. But honestly, I don't think that that's something that medications really helped me solve. I think it's honestly just knowing your priorities and growing up. And generally, I need something that's terrifying the shit out of me to get anything done. That's why when I was the best shape of my life, it was because I had to box a woman in 3 months. She had 4 years of experience. I had none. I had no choice but to box every day. I was never better and more focused about my health. And that time period, I learned so much about myself. And some of it I was able to apply. Some of it I haven't been able to get back. Same way for DJ sets. Unless I plan a show, I will not work on unless I force myself. I'm filming a video. I'm paying for the videographer and I'm filming the DJ set that day. I keep telling myself, you will start your DJ set because you really want to make one for YouTube. But if there's no external factor putting pressure on me and I have 2 days until that deadline and I start working on it, then I will not get it done. Now, this is something that I've been getting better at. For example, recently I had my DJ show. It was awesome. It was the best crowd of my entire life. I've never seen so many people smiling and singing and dancing to my DJ set. I really felt like people were there for the music, and that's a feeling that's sometimes really hard to get. Even though it was 100 degrees and I was sweating balls. And there was a really embarrassing moment where there's like no air conditioning in this warehouse. I, as a DJ, there are 3 cameras on me. I'm trying to look glamorous. I'm trying my best. There's sweat dripping down my forehead and getting in my eyes to the point where I can't see what I'm mixing and I can't see the decks. So I asked my friend nicely to get me some paper towels to dab my forehead. They couldn't find any because we are in a warehouse, so they got me toilet paper. I tried to slickly dab my head with the toilet paper. When I kind of hid it in my DJ set, no one knew. And after 2 minutes of DJing, my friend has been trying to get my attention doing this. Make eye contact, and they whisper, they're like, there's toilet paper on your forehead. So I was just DJ toilet paper with a little piece of toilet paper just hanging around on my forehead with a ton of lights and cameras, an entire stage looking at me. Usually, these DJ sets, I can only start them and get inspiration a maximum of 48 hours before. I will work on it in the plane. I will not sleep. I will work on the Uber on the way to the venue. I will be that person with my laptop and my USB stick 5 minutes until I'm performing, still changing my track order. I have lived that way for 2 years. And at some point I was like, I'm done. This is miserable. So this time I actually forced myself to start working on it. Initially, the expectation that I set for myself was 3 weeks before. I couldn't get myself to do it until 5 days before. But that 5 days compared to 2 days made the biggest difference of my life, because to the most part, I got it 90% done before showing up to the venue. And generally I'm so stressed before it, and it's so hard to enjoy because I want to feel good going to my set. I want to have time to get ready to do my makeup. I will literally be doing my makeup while working on my DJ set, and I put an outfit that I feel bad about because I didn't have time to properly get ready. And just a little bit of prep, tricking my brain to work on something a couple weeks ahead, which only turned out to be 5 weeks, made life and day. Also, really, when you're working on these more creative projects, sometimes having time to just marinate how you would marinate a chicken overnight, and you might put some sauces and some seasoning and it needs to sit in the fridge for a night before you put in the crock pot. So do my DJ sets. When I forced myself to do them much earlier, they were just so much better. It also gave me much more time to be a perfectionist and redo what I'm doing 100 times, but I was so much prouder about it, and I had so much less anxiety going into that crowd because I knew like I had done my very best to prepare. And it's really not the most time effective and whatnot, but that's just the way I work. I know that I am the antithesis. I'm the greatest enemy of productivity and good time management, and that's fine. That's just who I am. But my point of sharing that anecdote was that I have been learning slowly and very stubbornly, but I've been learning. One of my greatest ADHD flaws has always been time management, setting these false deadlines for myself and kind of tricking myself into doing things earlier than I still end up becoming late on has been one of my solutions. So honestly, I was just kind of reflecting back. It's cool when you can fix some of your main workflow productivity issues that you've had for years and trying to actually think on your mistakes. And I think I got to that realization without my meds. So yeah, there's my ADHD wisdom. I have a very chaotic schedule. I have a lot of days where I'm filming. I have days where I'm streaming, doing the podcast, doing creative brainstorm. When I'm preparing for DJ sets, I definitely do take it. I was also taking it because I really enjoyed not having an appetite. Food disorders and eating disorders is something that really runs in my family, especially with my mom. My mom was severely underweight. She still is to an extent, but she truly tries her best. She's also had some illnesses where she just couldn't gain weight. So sometimes she would eat as much as she could and she just couldn't gain weight. She also had some habits when she was young of binge eating. She couldn't really control herself over sugar. And then you'd feel really guilty and you don't sleep well and you feel really sick the next day. My sister and I really had this in common. And I liked that when I was on my Adderall, I didn't have to think about food. It's not something that stresses me out. And sometimes it does because it's like, oh, I always feel like I need to get a snack because I'm bored, because I don't want to sit down, because I struggle sitting down. But realistically, if I just had a more balanced routine and I maybe did a workout that morning and then I had a big protein breakfast, I wouldn't be feeling that way. So I liked it because it also helped me put off these other issues that I had to the side. And I was really worried that now that I'm taking back on it, I'm going to get back into these bad eating habits. And honestly, I've been so much healthier. Part of it is because I'm cooking more for myself. I have really good friends who are really health conscious. I don't want to say the word Nazis, but they are Nazis about seed oils and what not to put in your body. And I noticed ever since I stopped eating these Power Crunch bars that might taste really good like cookie dough, but all the ingredients are chemicals you can't pronounce with seed oils that actually give me tummy aches. I would tell myself for 6 months before I changed anything, but eating whole foods, you feel so much better. If you want something sweet, cut an apple and put some peanut butter on it. Especially in like the current American food industry, that just because something has protein, it's really good for you. And there's a big obsession with protein. Well, I think it's actually really important because I have been able to fix my diet by having more protein in it. It's not in the way that it's marketed to us. It's not eating protein chips, which are going to make you gassy. And by drinking these shakes with milk and a ton of chemicals that isn't really actually milk, I've just been making things from scratch. If you want a sweet dessert, you could make 1 scoop of, there's a strawberry cream protein powder. I get it from Whole Foods. Put some ice, put some almond milk. It's delicious. It tastes like a milkshake. For breakfast, having some protein right away is really important for me because it keeps me full throughout the day. I've been meal prepping a lot. I am 23, but I have been going through a crisis. First, bought a barbecue and then a crock pot. But let me tell you, my sister always complains that I buy a lot of cooking appliances that I use for a week and then never again. That did happen with the nut maker. That did happen with the juicer. And I said it wasn't going to happen with the barbecue. The reason we bought a barbecue is because we're like, this is such a hack. We can just put a ton of steaks and chicken on there and cook a ton of protein, and then we'll have it for the rest of the week. It'll be awesome, and you don't make a mess in the house. Last week, my sister and I, we were at Brian Johnson's house. He hosts these Don't Die dinners for creators. If you don't know Brian Johnson, he's the guy trying to live forever. There's a lot of mixed things about him. Everyone thinks that he's doing it because he actually thinks he can live forever and because he's motivated by all of these superficial values like trying to look good and trying to look young. But honestly, he's just trying to raise awareness about the health industry, and he very much knows he's not going to live forever, but he kind of has to say crazy things to get enough attention and enough eyeballs. That's how you make things go viral. We went to one of his dinners. He shows us all the appliances in his house. He is a billionaire. He can afford a lot of things. He's not going to be the most relatable person, but there's still a lot of things I learned from him. The most basic thing, it was air quality and water quality. I live in Los Angeles. Some people have found a group of chemicals. It's called forever chemicals. And they've been used since 1940 in nonstick cookware, waterproof clothing, food packaging, firefighting foams, and stain-resistant fabrics. They're called forever chemicals because they don't break down in the environment and can persist in water, soil, and people for decades. So your body and your blood. So they build up in your body over time, and they're often stored in your organs, in your blood, even in breast milk. There's health risks. Some of them are high risk of kidney and testicular cancer, thyroid disruption, weakened immune system, high cholesterol and liver problems, reproductive issues. How do they get in your water? Industrial discharge from chemical plants or factories, military bases and airports from the firefighting foam uses, leaching from landfills and waste, and everyday consumer breakdowns over time. Studies show that drinking water for 200 million Americans may contain forever chemicals at some level. And the worst part is this is not actually treated and tested for in your water. As someone who lives in a time where young people who are perfectly healthy out of the blue get cancer one day and they find out they have 1 year to live, you cannot tell me it's not linked to all the chemicals in our body and our water. The reason I went on this tangent is because in our neighborhood, someone found a chemical called Agent Orange, which is linked to a ton of other cancers long-term and similar risks. And these are just things that you think the FDA is testing in your water. They're not. So Brian was telling us the importance of testing your water in Los Angeles because it's especially bad. Like old tap water is just lead here. And we've been living in this house for 3 years. And we trusted our landowner. He said, oh, the water is filtered, your shower, your sinks, and your drinking water. We've been drinking out of this really suspicious Korean filter for 3 years. We tested it yesterday. It is just straight up tap water. We put it on a water tester. It hit the max red. Get like a nice little color range. There's green, yellow, red. It was all the way. Completely unsafe drinking water. Ton of chemicals into it. I don't even know what actual chemicals. We're gonna have to do a test to find out how risky it has been. So for the last few days, we have been changing our water source. And my sister and I have definitely felt a lot of symptoms of fatigue and exhaustion. And I'm generally curious if it's been my drinking water. But I remember there was many months where I was messaging my doctor. And this is actually why I got on my Adderall pills, because I was just so tired every day. I was like, I wake up and I sleep 8 hours. I have amazing sleep. I work out. I eat well. I just feel so exhausted. And I remember I would feel like this every day. And that's why I started taking actually my Adderall pills more often, because I couldn't get over the exhaustion. And now that I think about it, I haven't been feeling like that since I've changed my water source. I grew up with Romanian immigrant parents. We grew up in Oregon. We would drink straight up tap water, but Oregon was also different. Oregon had much cleaner water than Los Angeles. So it really matters where you live. But if you're in the US, test your water. The testers off Amazon cost like $10. You can test everything. It's really important to know. Next, we tested the air quality. The reason I went on a tangent about the barbecue is because the day that Alex, my sister, and I got home from Brian Johnson, my friend was barbecuing outside. And it was the minute that we decided to take our IQ air tester. We tested our air while my friend was barbecuing. My sister starts freaking out because the air quality is so bad that it compares to being right next to a fire and the air was unbreathable. It was comparable to when half of LA was on fire and everyone had to wear masks outside because the air quality was so bad. So much of this, I'm privileged. If you live in India, I cannot even complain about air quality where I live. That is a serious issue where the government of India would save more people by fixing their air quality than curing cancer. Now, the solutions aren't that easy, so I also know it really depends where you live. how lucky I am to live in the suburbs and to be complaining about this in Los Angeles, but I'm only talking about it to raise awareness for other people who do live in big cities in the US. The air quality was through the roof, as if we were in a wildfire, and it was surprisingly coming from the barbecue, which was a good sign. The whole house wasn't poisoning us. That meant that we had to say goodbye to the barbecue, which also makes you wonder, all the charcoal that we've been eating, is it really good for you? I didn't even know that the barbecue could poison you, but ready for the life-changing realization? We got a crock pot. The crock pot is the most amazing solution, and we had to go through the barbecue to come to the crock pot. You take 30 minutes of your night before. You put some meat, some potatoes. There's so many recipes. You can make stew, you can make pasta, slow cooked chicken. You can even make banana bread. The options are endless. You wake up, you have a meal for 2 days. It's in the crock pot. You don't have to cook. You barely have to clean. There's no smoke. I don't understand why people aren't as hyped about the crock pot as we should be. Like, why are we not talking about crock pots? The crock pot has been life-changing. It's only one day of the crock pot, and I am kind of a toxic lover when it comes to kitchen appliances because I think they're the best thing for the first week, and I love them and I use them every day, and then I kind of fall out of love, and that's kind of what happened to the barbecue, but only because we found out it was killing us. I'm being very influenced by this because everyone around me is taking their health seriously. My sister is someone who has been a workaholic her entire life. She, in her own words, has sacrificed her body and her health for success, and she is turning 30 this weekend. I'm throwing her a surprise party. Yay. She's finally having a moment where she doesn't want to do this anymore, and that's why she's taking it really seriously. And I'm 7.5 years younger, so I get to absorb all of this wisdom, which I'm really happy I do, and the sooner you start, the better. Well, guys, thank you for listening to my episode for today. This video might get no views. That's okay. I'm just happy that I did it. At least we have a place to chat that feels safe. I hope you guys will have a beautiful day. Let me know what you thought about my podcast episode. I will be back with more vlogs, be back with more music. If you guys are fellow creatives, artists, or if you have questions about ADHD stuff or health stuff, let me know. I think I would like to do a Q&A next. So any questions that you have for me, let me know.